Hello, I'm Michelle Barnett and I'm a family advisor at the Neurodevelopmental Differences Project at Suffolk Family Carers. This short workshop is an introduction to using visuals to support executive function. In this workshop, we'll introduce you briefly to the executive function, executive dysfunction, what are visuals, visual support for executive function, and a brief guide to making visual supports. So, what is executive function? It's a set of processing skills that help us plan and organise what we do every day. Most of us do this without much thought. Sometimes it's referred to as the brain's management system, or the boss, or the CEO of your brain. This set of skills are what gets us up and about in the morning. They help us to get where we need to be and doing what we need to be doing. So, here we have the 8 functions. I'll just take you through them. So first up here I've got working memory. This is keeping key information in mind and using it. Self-monitoring. This is about self-awareness and how one is doing in the moment. Planning and prioritising. To set and meet goals. Task initiation. Take action to get started on tasks. Organisation. Keep track of things physically and mentally. Impulse control. Think before acting. Emotional control. Keeping those feelings in check. And flexible thinking, or how we adjust behaviour to unexpected changes. Here we have a very short video on what is executive function, which I think you might find useful.
Executive function. What is it? Executive function describes the part of the mind that helps you be organized. Think of it as where, when, and how. Where things are, or where they belong. When things are due, or when something is happening. How to do things, and how to get started. Difficulty with executive function has a greater impact as children get older and are increasingly expected to work independently. What are the difficulties? Losing and mislaying things. Having a chaotic, messy bedroom and school bag. Organising, planning and prioritising. Disorganised folders and papers. Identifying what needs to be done. Getting a sequence of actions mixed up. Not allowing enough time and often being late. Not completing a task before moving on to another. Not remembering when homework is due. Forgetting what the teacher told them to do. Helpful strategies. Set routines to create habits. Establish set places to keep things. A phone can be helpful to take photographs of homework or things you need to remember. But where a child is not old enough to have a phone, use calendars and planners.
I'm sure there was a lot of things in that video that you might recognise in yourself or even in your own family, so I hope you found that useful. So, executive functioning skills can often develop differently in neurodivergent individuals, and they may experience difficulties in multiple areas. Anxiety, emotional regulation can affect executive functioning. This is something that you may have witnessed or experienced yourselves. Some research suggests that up to 80% of autistic individuals can suffer from executive function disorder. This can lead to difficulties managing time, emotions, distress, and completing tasks. what might be thought of as a simple task by us, such as cleaning a room, packing a school bag, remembering where your drink bottle is, can be very complicated or seemingly impossible by others. When someone has difficulties with executive functions, they are said to be experiencing executive dysfunction. This dysfunction is a symptom that disrupts the person's ability to manage their own thoughts, emotions and actions. Executive functions may involve so many processes inside your brain. The dysfunction can take place in many forms. This slide shows some examples of executive dysfunction: being distractible or having trouble focusing on just one thing, or maybe focusing on too much of one thing, daydreaming or spacing out when you should be paying attention, such as during a conversation or a meeting or in a classroom. You may have trouble planning or carrying out a task because you can't visualise the final product or goal. You may have difficulty motivating yourself to start a task that seems difficult or uninteresting. Struggling to move from one task to another can also be distressing. Getting distracted or interrupted partway through a task, causing you to misplace items or lose your train of thought, like leaving your keys in the fridge because you wanted a snack but your hands were full, so you put your keys down inside the fridge and you just forgot all about them. Problems with impulse control, like snacking when you're trying to manage a diet. Struggling with thinking before you talk, causing you to blurt out the first thing that pops into your head without considering that it might hurt someone's feelings. Having trouble explaining your thought process clearly because you understand it in your head, but by putting it into words for others can feel overwhelming. Differences in executive functioning can make learning and social experiences and day-to-day activities challenging, particularly in a world created for neurotypical brains. If these challenges are significant and consistent, the individual may then experience dysregulation and distress. So, let's have a look at visuals. What are visuals? Visuals are something that we look at. They are used to make something usually more appealing or easier to understand. Visuals are part of everyday life. We interact daily with visuals, once again, a lot of the time without even realising. For example, road signs help us know how to interact with using the roads. Maps can help show us where we're going. There are holiday brochures which make places look more desirable, so we travel there. There are charts that can make it easier for us to understand information. You can also get menus that help us decide what we want to eat by reading what's on offer or looking at pictures. We can also identify ourselves with visuals in the form of our work, name badges and lanyards. These help understand to others who we are. So, visuals can help to support language, understanding and can promote engagement. It's been said that a picture is worth 1,000 words. So visuals can be referred to as often as they're needed. Once again, we do this without thinking in our everyday lives. And these can help reduce the feelings of anxiety and frustration. We've got a few examples here of how maybe some visuals could be helpful. So this first one of a hot, sweaty face could be like informing someone of a message they want to relay, so that you're actually saying, I'm too hot, or perhaps if you're referring to someone else, you're too hot. The second one could be a visual to give an instruction. For example, I need to take off my jumper, or if someone else is referring to someone, they could be asking them to take off their jumper. This visual could help make a choice. A picture of an ice lolly or a drink. Which one would you choose? As mentioned before, visuals are something that we look at and see, and there are a wide range of items that can be used as visual supports, and we have a nice list here for you to look at. So visuals should be person-centred and strength-based, and consideration should be given to the developmental stage of the individual. For example, the visual could be focused around their interests. It could be specific characters from a TV show or from games, for example, like Lego or Minecraft. Consider their preferred method of communication and engagement. For instance, they might like using pictures or specific photographs or objects of reference like small animals or characters that they enjoy, or it could just be written words. Here are some varied visual examples here. The one on the left is one I made for my son, as he never remembers to use his fragrance. The one on the right could be for someone younger or for someone that just struggles with the steps of hand washing. The one in the middle shows a written list, perhaps where written words are a preference to communication rather than pictures. Other than that's what's shown in the other one. The morning schedule here is pictures and writing. So we are going to talk through each section of the executive functioning skills, and we're going to start with working memory. It's a skill that allows us to work with information without losing track of what we are doing. Working memory is not just for short-term use, it also helps the brain organise new information for long-term storage. When people have trouble with working memory, the brain may store information in a jumbled way, or it may not store it at all for the long term. Many of us have a routine in our heads when we get out of bed, and it sometimes comes naturally to us. We get up, we use the bathroom, we have breakfast. Some individuals may struggle to remember daily tasks, and visuals could help that. It could be in the form of a daily or weekly or a schedule or a planner, as we can see on the next slide. So, a schedule like the one on the left could be useful to plan the day, placing the activities on the time spaces. This is just an example. There are many planners and schedule templates that can be person-specific. Some children may be happy with a written schedule or planner, or happy to use a device like a tablet or a phone. Self-monitoring. This is being able to look inwards at your ability to evaluate your own behaviours. Many individuals find it difficult to know when their emotions are affecting their behaviours. They might find it difficult to regulate, hold back and adjust in response to demanding situations. They may often repeat mistakes as they find it difficult to learn from past experience as well as accepting responsibility for their actions. Here are some visual aids that might be able to help with self-monitoring. The first one is a contingency map, and the other one is a choice board. And these can be used as visual problem solvers that might help individuals when they find it hard to learn from past experiences. Essentially, they are set up so the individual can see the consequence of an alternative behaviour, and the consequence, typically the naturally occurring consequence of the negative behaviour. These may help children and young people to reflect and assist with self-monitoring. These could be replicated simply on a whiteboard or just drawn or written down on paper. As you can see from the first one, Matthew, if you do your work, you get a token. And then on the right hand side, Matthew, if you don't do your work, you don't get a token. And on the choice board, this one is set out as if it was in a school environment. So it's during spelling time. If this child or young person works hard and they spell their words, then they get a choice for their break. And the negative part of the make a choice board is during spelling, if I play around, I do not do my work, then I go to bed with no TB time. So, the benefits of self-monitoring can increase independence, it can increase regulation, it can decrease distress and dysregulation. It can improve self-reflection and responsibility. Additionally, it can help people improve a wide array of behaviours through self-assessment. Some of these self-monitoring visuals might be good to be worked with an adult, perhaps within a school system or at home, and they can be adjusted to suit the need of the environment or the individual. So, we're going to move on to emotional control, and this is the ability of keeping our feelings in check. This function allows us to take a step back and assess the situation before our emotions take over. And individuals who struggle with this function may have difficulty with emotional regulation and may experience intentional emotional reactions. This could be in the form of a meltdown or a shutdown, or defiance, or demand avoidance, or even aggression, which is often experienced during stressful situations or times of overwhelm. So here we have some visuals that could be either used in schools or together at home. We often find talking about these things as a family can help normalise these feelings and help model emotional regulation. At home, during dinner times, as a family, we often talk about the day and the different zones we've moved through during the day. So if I've felt frustrated, what have I done about it? Like it says on this zones of regulation board, I might have taken some deep breaths to help me with this frustration, to move me back into the green zone. So we just discuss what we did to try and regulate ourselves and move in and out of these zones. The ND project has also recorded a zones of regulation workshop, which you can also find on YouTube. So we're going to move on to planning and prioritising. So this is the ability to set and meet goals and being able to make decisions about what's important to focus on and the best order to complete a task or to reach your end goal. Individuals may feel overwhelmed with projects that require multiple steps as they struggle to break down larger tasks into smaller manageable tasks. There could be a struggle to plan the day or allocate time to different activities and prioritising what is most important in the situation. They also may find it difficult to manage time. So breaking down tasks into lists with words or pictures in the form of a schedule, like what's on the middle of this slide. This is Max's schedule. I think it's for when he's come home from school. So he gets to have TV and a snack, then he does his homework, then he has dinner, has a bath, brushes his teeth and puts on his pyjamas. Also, now and next boards can be useful for small breakdowns of information. Timers can also be useful on devices such as clocks or, like in this picture on the slide, sand timers. And although these are not visual, Home assistances like Alexa might be helpful for a timer. Planning a day out can be really stressful for families, and there can also be a lot of anxiety around the places that you could be visiting. Using video visuals can be helpful for this. Lots of attractions have websites and virtual tours. For example, the Science Museum in London has a virtual tour, and they often also have sensory maps which show quiet areas and when there are quieter times. Social stories can also help. These may help with anxiety around visiting new places. There is a link on this slide for an organisation called Dimensions, and they have an autism friendly museum social story template. Also, using Google Maps can help with planning a journey, so knowing how long the journey is going to be may help to reduce the anxiety around the trip out. Task initiation, the ability to take action and get started on a task. There are certain times when we are likely to put off or start or finishing tasks. However, most people are able to take the necessary steps to start tasks and get them completed. Many individuals may have difficulty in starting and finishing and will often delay the task or avoid it altogether. It could be things like basic hygiene, such as washing or cleaning your teeth, or avoiding tasks if they know perfection cannot be achieved. You might avoid chores or feeling overwhelmed what might seem like simple tasks. I certainly can struggle with task initiation and will often be distracted by something less important or by a task I know I can complete. For example, when I was at university, I would clean my kitchen rather than start an essay any time. I found making lists helped me. I also used to use post-it notes and stick them on my computer monitor. And if I got stuck again and I started to get distracted, I'd allow myself a break or set myself a timer on how long I would work on the task. I also used to give myself allocated number of words that I had to write in a study session. I found this really helpful. So here we have some task initiation visuals. The first one is one that could be perhaps used in school, and it's called Trouble Getting Started. And it just states some reasons perhaps why. So you've got on there, I'm not sure where to start, I forgot the directions, I need it to be perfect, or is it something else? These are prompts that either the adult can point to ask the student perhaps if that's why they're getting stuck, or vice versa. The pupil themselves could use this to show the adult why they're getting stuck. There's also a very simple one there, which is first pick up the pencil, then start working. However, these visual cues can be powerful and can help reduce the amount of verbal redirecting that adults can have, especially in a classroom environment if this comes overwhelming for the people they're working with. And these are a mixture of examples here that could be used for different ages or abilities. You could also have them at home as well, for helping around the house or doing homework. And also, once again, task initiations, timers could be helpful. So, organisation, the ability to keep track of things both physically and mentally. Many of us don't always see ourselves as organised, but if we break it down and think about it, we're probably more organised than we give ourselves credit for. However, there are many individuals that will have the inability to keep track of things. They may lose things or forget where they've put them. They may have difficulty using planners and a calendar. and often are working on cluttered desks or workspaces. They often forget to write things down, for example, homework or deadlines, leading them to forget to complete the task. So these visual charts may help to support organisational distress. They can help individuals to know what is required for a particular lesson or day. We might ask our children or young people to tidy up their bedroom or a desk, and they might struggle to visualise what a non-cluttered desk or room actually looks like. Showing them how to is a good visual support. Doing it together and modelling the behaviour is a good way of learning. You could also take a photograph of the area when it's all organised and tidy. This may make it easier to help them organise their space and make it easier to find things. Using labels for drawers or boxes may also help. You can see here a list of how you might organise a written planner by using a coloured code. This might be helpful for some older children or young people, and also setting reminders on phones and planners can help, especially for homework and assignments. Impulse control, the ability to stop and think before acting. Impulse actions. Individuals may struggle to control their immediate impulses and act without considering the consequences. This can manifest into impulsive behaviours such as grabbing objects, interrupting conversations, or engaging in injurious behaviours. Impulse actions can also come from being dysregulated. This stop, think and choose visual can be very useful for individuals who struggle with emotional control and self-regulation. It encourages children to stop and think before they act. This can be great for the classroom or even at home. The visuals we previously showed for emotional control, which is the zones of regulation, may well help with impulse control, as improving self-regulation may help impulse control, and this can help manage distress. Flexible thinking. It helps us deal with uncertainty, solve problems, adjust to changes, and incorporate new information into our plans and ideas. It can also help us deal with disappointment and problem solve. Flexible thinking can often be difficult for our neurodivergent individuals who can often have rigid thinking and struggle with adjusting to changes, new ideas and plans. Visual aids can be helpful in teaching individuals about flexible thinking. For example, you could use a flowchart to show how different decisions can lead to different outcomes, very much like the choice board we showed earlier on a slide when we were looking at self-monitoring. You could also practice social stories, as they can help the individual understand some different perspectives of social situations. You can create stories that illustrate flexible thinking in different scenarios. The one on this slide was a social story that was made for my son. He had very rigid thinking about friends, and he liked to play with the same person all the time. This story was to help him understand that this person, who he liked playing with all the time, could also play with other people, and so could he, and to help him accept other people's choices. So, we've covered all the areas of the executive functioning system and have introduced you to some visual aids that may help to avoid dysfunction or distress to the system. And here are a few tips on how to use visuals effectively. So make them visible and accessible. Put visuals where they can be easily seen and referred to as needed. For example, you may want to use a clipboard with velcroed pictures or in a folder or maybe on a lanyard or key rings. You could store photos and pictures and resources on a tablet or a smartphone. One thing I would say is do what works best for you all. Take the time to teach the individual how to use a visual. So that is so important, and persistence and consistency and patience to the approach is key. It may just feel like one more thing on your never-ending to-do list, but introducing visuals and practicing together might really make a difference. This slide gives you a brief guide and some great tips on making effective visuals. You can read these at your own leisure. There's quite a few tips here, so I won't read them all out. And here are some useful links that we have also used over time that might be useful to you and your family. And I thank you for listening.